Hello, this is Memije with IT Supplies. Today we're going to review the GMG PrintFactory Licensed Software Manager, as well as the PrintFactory RIP module preferences. So let's take a look at the Licensed Software Manager. If you're on a Windows, you can see this orlontray.exe. So you can access it from here and selecting Software Manager. There's also another way. If you're in the PrintFactory RIP, and in the other modules, there's also a location to look at the license info. And if you open that up, that'll bring up the Software Manager. Now, the first thing about the Software Manager is all of these different tutorials, PDF instructions. There's some how-to videos as well on PrintFactory that can deeper dive into some of the settings that I'm covering in these videos. So if you want something to refer to, this is a real easy way to take a look at that. For instance, let's just look at Licensing and Software Manager, and you can see in here there's a whole bunch, let's just say license activation, of information here that you can refer to in the FAQs. You can see how-to videos as well. And if you go to topics, it brings us to basically that front screen. You can see there's some additional things online if you actually go to the online FAQ site, the Help Center. On the next tab, you'll see our cloud settings here. And basically from our license server, I'm on a local machine. You might have a fixed IP address here. So if you had multiple RIP station, you'll have one single computer server that acts as the licensed server. So any additional RIP computers that will be accessing the licensed server, you can type in that server's IP address here. Okay. And basically, to do any updates, it's basically the update is also to update any settings, possibly any profiles you've built, preference changes that you've made. It will update to the cloud all of those preferences for you. At the bottom here, you'll be able to see which serial number you have. You'll probably won't see an expiration date, as you can see mine is a NFR, or not for resale license, as I'm an installer, so I need to get mine renewed. Yours is generally a permanent serial number. So that's why you see subscription here. And then you'll see the current build date. Sometimes if you have to call in for tech support, either to myself or to GMG or Orlon, you will want to get that build date to them so they know exactly which build you're working with. On the information tab here, this will show you all the different options that you have on the right hand side. In your RIP itself, you'll see I just don't have softproof for job server. I'll probably get softproof added to that in the future. It also shows you what type of license you have. You can see this is a not for resale license. Yours will not look like that. How many RIP computers you can run, how many editors, PDF editors that you can run, and how many layout tools you can run. Now keep in mind that each of these modules, including the calibrator, which it looks like I think you get indefinite calibrators, you can put each of these individual modules on a separate computer. I'll give you an example. For instance, like the editor, you might have some graphic designers that don't necessarily need the RIP because they're not sending the jobs directly to that RIP station. Maybe they drop things into a hot folder queue instead. Refer to my hot folder queue video to get more information on that. Or they're just laying things out, editing files, laying things out, and then that would be submitted to the actual RIP station where that would be printed. So they might not need calibrator, they might not need to do any calibrations, they might just do some editing, or maybe they just do layouts and send things to the RIP itself. So keep that in mind, that these licenses you can install on individual computers on the same subnet network with the licensed server computer. And then you can see, which types of printer drivers I have for my RIP station here. You will see drivers based on your license. Additional printer drivers can be purchased so that you can add those to your software license manager. The next is basically like any updates essentially. If you want to make sure that it checks on it on a daily basis or weekly, monthly, do you want it to install automatically? Not necessarily my recommendation, but if you wanted to keep it up to date, you can have that do that in the background there. The next tab is basically what you see in the cloud. So you can see in here, these are all the profiles that I've built over the years, essentially in PrintFactory, at least on my machine, not necessarily on customer machines as well. And you'll see some HP profiles that are brought in from HP printers. Those are most likely standard printer profiles that were bundled with the printer. You'll also see any job labels that you've created, any specific type of job labels. If you have Fotoba cutters, you can add different types of Fotoba marks to this. If you've come up with any marks files, so Fotoba, new Fotoba type cuts, markers, these things can be created as well as templates created in editor. Sometimes you do templates in layout, where you would create a specific template to be used over and over again. So this is basically just showing us what we have when we've clicked the update button here, not just updating the software, but updating any new information, any new profiles, labels, Fotoba marks, or templates that I've created will go up to the cloud, so that if something happens to my computer, it will be I'll be able to download it back and bring it into my RIP if I have to install somewhere else on a different machine. Okay, so that is the Licensed Software Manager. Let's take a look at the preferences here really quick in the PrintFactory RIP module. So you can see like the working folder. If you had, you can see it's going to a C users public folder. If you had a secondary hard drive, you could have the work folder go there, maybe not to keep the C drive full, or maybe a server mapped drive as well. You can also do that if you want to keep the data on the main server machine trim. Especially if you have many RIPs, that might be an ideal. So, they might point to different places essentially, or you might just keep them locally. But if you have, let's say, 3 RIP stations, you might have those work folders pointing to different locations, let's say on a server computer. On here, obviously, you can select your language, whether you want imperial or metric units, what's your certification standard. So essentially, we're choosing, what type of output that we're going to. How many jobs can simultaneously be run? I'm on a quad-core hyper-threaded computer here, so I could do up to 8 jobs. If you have a dual-core, with hyper-threading, you might set that to 4. Or if you have a single-core computer with hyper-threading, you might set that to 2 simultaneous jobs to not bog down the RIP and potentially, I'm going to just set that to 4 actually, and potentially crash the RIP. So if your RIP is crashing, keep that in mind. You might have it set to too many simultaneous jobs for the number of cores for your computer processor. And basically you could decide whether this particular preference for this RIP is an administrator or end user mode. On the view here, so basically what we're looking at is what we can see in terms of the tabs here at the top. So for instance, if I added plates, as I hit OK here, it would have added plates, you can see here, to my taskbar, essentially. Also with the taskbar, you can just right click on it to add these items. So if I wanted to take plates off, I can do that. If I want to auto size columns, I could do that as well. So let's go back into the preferences here. So basically, this is basically showing you which columns do you want to see about your particular jobs. Fonts, if you want to add fonts to the RIP, you can do that here. Fonts might be used in the editor tool to add text or things like that, or for labels and such. Cleanup, so this is basically in terms of print jobs, you'll notice cleanup print jobs or cleanup PDF jobs. So if you're not doing a PDF workflow, you want to concentrate on the bottom section here. You can say keep all jobs and retain them. You can say delete them immediately after printing, or you could say delete them after a certain number of days. You know, a lot of people will say, I just need it for 1 day or 2 days, or some companies might say, well, let's just keep them for 1 week just in case we need to reprint something. So keep that in mind, that you can set things to clean up your working folder for any print jobs or PDF jobs that are coming through. HP wall art, if you have an HP printer, basically you can link into your HP wall art software right through PrintFactory. It's a nice tool to have if you are designing wall templates, tiling, that sort of thing in PrintFactory with an HP printer. And then the toolbar here, so basically the toolbar is essentially what we're seeing above right here. So I can add certain things. So you can see this is the current toolbar on the left, and on the right, different things that I can add. So let's see if there's anything that I would add here. Maybe if I had an HP printer, I would add the HP wall art up there. The knowledge base, if I want to refer to the knowledge base on a regular basis. Backup job is pretty useful as well. If you want to back up a job that you know you're going to repeat, meaning you're going to print this on a regular basis, you can have a backup job folder for any repeat prints that need to come into the system. This assures that it uses the same color management, and then it would print it the same way the next time you come back to printing that file. So we'll add backup job there. Let's see, if you have settings for nozzle checks for a particular printer, you might be able to use that. Maybe preferences to come back into here to make any changes. See if there's anything else. Sometimes you might want to like hold a queue or hold processing, so nothing to a particular printer can come through. Maybe a printer has some mechanical issue and we want to make sure no operators are sending anything to that particular printer. And then let's just add the delete button in there as well. And then you can see, this is the last thing in our preferences here, you can see after I do this that it's added those additional items here: backup job, HP wall art, preferences, etc. So essentially that is it for the PrintFactory RIP preferences. Thank you for watching. I hope this was useful in helping you get set up in your PrintFactory RIP.
Thanks so much for watching this. If you would like to see more of these videos, please go to our YouTube channel.